Santina Collins was a special girl, born in July 1999 inches, Charlotte, North Carolina. What made her so unique was that from an early age, Mary had to battle medical conditions that very few children around her ever faced. Yet the way she faced them, with remarkable strength and courage, earned deep admiration from everyone who knew her. Not long after Mary was born, her mother, Case del Pezzo, had to leave for work far away to provide for the family. Mary went to live with her grandmother, Mia Alderman. Losing her mother's embrace at such a young age was already a hardship for this sweet, curly-haired little girl. But when Mary was just 3 years old, her grandmother noticed she struggled with speech and took her to the hospital. There, doctors discovered Mary had a submucosal cleft that required surgery. The treatment process was incredibly difficult. Doctors even warned that even after surgery, Mary might never be able to speak clearly. But her family had no other choice. They had to take the chance, as it was the only hope for Mary to find her voice. By the age of 6, thanks to her lively spirit and tireless practice, Mary was able to speak fairly clearly. Still, compared to others, her speech wasn't perfect. She spoke slowly, softly, and couldn't raise her voice. Because of this, her grandmother always stayed by her side, worried that if something happened, Mary wouldn't be able to call out for help. But life brought Mary even more challenges. During these childhood years, she was diagnosed with 22q deletion syndrome, also known as DiGeorge syndrome, the second most common genetic disorder after Down syndrome. It affected her mobility, her heart, her immune system, and even her behavior. While many people looked at her with hesitation or pity, Mary never gave up. She kept pushing forward, turning hardship into motivation, and learning to treasure life even more. By the age of 15, because of her condition, Mary's mental development was similar to that of a 10-year-old. She still needed family support in many areas, whether shopping, handling small change, or driving. Her grandmother was always there for her, helping her in every way she could. She cared for Mary as though to make up for the hardships her granddaughter had faced. To further ensure Mary's safety, she even used a phone-sharing service to track Mary's location, so the family could always find her if she were ever in danger. Thanks to her grandmother's endless love, Mary not only overcame her illness but also found the confidence to express herself. She loved music and had an incredible ear for it. She enjoyed photography and had a real talent for capturing moments. And above all, she adored makeup and hair coloring. All of this made Mary a confident, sweet, lovable, and kind-hearted young woman. Despite her challenges, Mary went to school just like everyone else. In high school, she slowly adapted and made a few friendly connections. Among them was Lavi Pham. The two became close, sharing many of their personal secrets with one another. Later, Lavi started dating a girl named Kelly Lavery. During their outings, Lavi often invited Mary along, and the three soon became inseparable friends. As two young women, Mary and Kelly shared a passion for photography and often appeared together in pictures. But over time, Kelly revealed a darker side. She wasn't the good friend Mary had hoped for. Instead, she began cyberbullying Mary for months, leaving cruel comments online such as, "Nobody wants you. If I were you, I'd want to disappear as soon as possible." Seeing this, Mary's grandmother urged her to end this toxic friendship. On the 28th of March 2020, when Kelly called an Uber to pick Mary up, Mia even stopped the car from taking her. But by then, Mary was already 20 years old. Though her understanding was closer to that of a 15-year-old, she still insisted on going. She assured her grandmother that she was only heading to the Noda neighborhood in Charlotte, North Carolina, to visit Kelly Lavery and Lavi Pham, and told her not to worry. Besides, in recent months, Mary had noticed a change in Kelly. She seemed kinder, more caring, and had turned into the sweet, trustworthy friend Mary had always wanted. With her hopeful outlook on life, Mary had often forgiven Kelly's odd behavior. Even this time, she truly believed that Kelly had changed and had become a more thoughtful friend. But what Mary didn't realize was that this very trust would lead her into an ending no one could have imagined. On the 28th of March 2020, that very afternoon after Mary left home, the governor officially shut down the entire city due to the sudden escalation of COVID-19. Worry began to rise for Mia, her grandmother, as the whole city was plunged into a tense atmosphere, and repeated calls and texts to her granddaughter went unanswered. Remembering that Mary had said she would be at Lavi Pham's apartment, Mia quickly checked Lavi's Twitter account to see what was going on. Things didn't seem so worrying anymore when a few hours earlier, Lavi had posted a video showing Mary happily going downstairs with them to pick up a sushi delivery. The three friends, including Mary, appeared to be enjoying themselves. This sight calmed Mia's nerves a little, reassured by seeing her granddaughter happy with her friends. That fleeting sense of safety would last for only about a day. On the 29th of March 2020, at the height of the pandemic, not only were movement restrictions in place, but even tighter rules were being introduced. That day, Mary's grandmother decided to stock up on vegetables and groceries to prepare the home for her granddaughter's return. She kept herself busy cleaning and grocery shopping tasks that were especially difficult and time-consuming during lockdown. At that moment, her only concern was ensuring the house was stocked with enough supplies so that once Mary came home, they could quarantine together. On the 30th of March 2020, by that afternoon, Mary still had not returned home. After finishing all her preparations, Mia realized something was off when her granddaughter never called. In fact, she couldn't reach Mary at all. Feeling that something wasn't right, Mia could no longer wait. She approached the officers enforcing the COVID-19 lockdown and pleaded to be allowed to leave her home to search for her granddaughter, stressing that this was a matter of great urgency. So Mia went straight to the Noda apartments, banging on the door of Lavi Pham and Kelly's unit, calling out Mary's name over and over. Kelly answered, admitting that Mary had been there but claimed she left around 11 a.m. But Mia knew for certain that her granddaughter would never wander off without her phone. It didn't make sense. Mary couldn't navigate places the way an average adult could. Alarmed, Mia continued shouting Mary's name outside their door. Both Lavi Pham and Kelly looked uneasy. They reluctantly let Mia glance at the front room of the apartment, hoping it would convince her that Mary had truly left. But when she tried to head toward the back to check the bedrooms, they refused, insisting that it was their private space and should be respected. Mia considered the point and, though frustrated, left the unit. She didn't give up, though she searched around the complex for hours before finally deciding to call 911. But she didn't call 911 to report Mary missing. Instead, she asked for help in getting the couple in the apartment to hand her granddaughter over. Mia was convinced that Mary must still be inside and perhaps being mistreated, because she was certain the girl would never leave without contacting her. Unfortunately, the police couldn't act right away. Too little time had passed to file an official missing persons case. If Mia wanted to proceed, she would first have to file a formal report. The police's lack of immediate action left Mia anxious and restless. She reached out to Mary's mother, Kase, hoping to find another way, but even Kase had no better solution. Together, the two women stationed themselves outside the apartment building of Lavi Pham and Kelly, keeping watch day and night over who came and went. Although a detective eventually showed up, asking Mia and Kase to stop bothering Lavi Pham and Kelly, the two women refused to leave. Another 911 officer later came to speak with them again as they kept their vigil outside the apartment. He urged them to go home and wait there, assuring them he would come to their house to take their statements and would assign another officer to check Lavi Pham's apartment for Mary. Even though they were upset and didn't want to do it at all, Mrs. Mia and her daughter reluctantly went back home, waiting for the police to bring Mary home safely. However, when the officer arrived at the Noda apartment complex to check again, he couldn't get inside. He knocked on the door, but no one answered. With no other option, the officer had to leave. The police then filed a missing person report on behalf of Mrs. Mia, and Mary's case was officially assigned to a detective. On the 31st of March 2020, the next day, when Detective Gaskin called Mrs. Mia, she and Kashi were once again standing outside Levi Pham's apartment, hoping to find Mary. He explained that he was busy and couldn't come with them to check the home. Still, Mrs. Mia and Kashi refused to leave the building. With no other choice, Detective Gaskin advised them to try calling 911 again. Hearing this, Mrs. Mia and her daughter felt hopeless as they stood there. Deep down, they strongly believed Mary was still inside the apartment, but there was nothing they could do except feel helpless and powerless. In desperation, when repeated 911 calls didn't work, Mary's mother thought of another way. They decided to call the building manager. He said he would try to help by checking the security camera footage to see if Mary had really left the apartment at the time Kelly claimed. While the manager was searching for the footage, another officer responded to the 911 call and came to Levi Pham's apartment again. Strangely, this time Levi Pham refused to let them in. At that moment, The building manager was also told by the 911 officer to stop checking the security cameras unless there was an official request from law enforcement. Everything had to wait until the police made a formal order. And just like that, the last bit of hope Mrs. Mia and her daughter had seemed to vanish. On the 1st of April 2024, days since Mary was last seen, Mrs. Mia grew frustrated with the slow investigation. Police assumed Mary, a 20-year-old, had simply run off searching for independence. But Mrs. Mia begged them to understand that Mary could not just disappear like that. She pleaded that her granddaughter wouldn't, and more importantly, couldn't do such a thing. Mary was far less independent than her age suggested, always needing help to navigate daily life, and it was impossible for her to venture somewhere unfamiliar alone. Meanwhile, the community stepped in to search for Mary. Flyers were made and distributed, organizations were contacted, search teams with tracking dogs were hired, and nearby suspicious areas were combed through. They even consulted experts on human trafficking, leaving no possibility unexplored. Younger family members took to social media, spreading the word everywhere. As Mary's family pushed on with the search, police even told a local news outlet that they didn't believe Mary was in danger. But Mary's grandmother knew her best. She felt it deep inside. Mary was still in that apartment complex. She wasn't missing. She was there, inside. Yet no one seemed to hear her desperate cries for help. On the 2nd of April 2025, days since Mary was last seen, a witness twice called the police station, insisting that a young man named James Salerno had told her he was at a party with Mary, Levi, and Kelly. He claimed something terrible had happened to Mary in the bathroom, and that her remains had been hidden in the apartment. Waiting until after the COVID-19 lockdown ended, Detective Gaskin received orders to personally visit the couple, Levi Pham and Kelly, under police authority to search their apartment. He sat down to question them, then moved around the place. He checked the closets, looked into corners, and even lifted the mattress. Yet, nothing turned up. The case seemed to be reaching a dead end until a second witness came forward with information claiming that Mary was still inside the apartment. On the evening of the 4th of April 2020, just 2 days after the first witness had spoken, another witness came forward. This second person firmly insisted that Mary was still inside the apartment. Around the same time, Mary's uncle reached out to the apartment complex manager. Within just 10 minutes, they were able to review footage from the building's security cameras. Although some recordings had already been erased due to the start of a new month, one key day remained the 31st of March 2020, and it confirmed what the family had believed all along. There was no footage showing Mary leaving the Noda apartments. That meant she was still inside the couple's apartment. Police immediately returned to Levi Pham and Kelly's residence with a new search warrant. When investigators searched again, they were shocked to discover an elaborate hiding place. Only after cutting open the mattress in Levi Pham and Kelly's bedroom did they uncover Mary's body concealed deep inside. For an entire week, the couple had been living in the apartment, sleeping just a few feet away from her remains. So what exactly had happened? Text messages exchanged between Levi Pham and Kelly revealed that the couple had tried to lure Mary into a disturbing plan. When she refused, they decided to trap her. Kelly, pretending to be a friend, invited Mary over. Once she arrived, they slipped Xanax, a medication for anxiety and panic disorders that can cause unconsciousness in high doses, into her drink. Afterward, they placed Mary in the bathtub. What happened next was brutal. According to reports, her body showed extensive signs of harm, with over 130 wounds documented. Following this, the couple tightly wrapped her remains in plastic bags and tape, then used dish soap and pumpkin-scented body wash in an attempt to mask any odor. They even removed the springs from the mattress to hide Mary's body inside. This meant that Mary had been hidden inside that mattress, in the apartment, ever since the very first missing person report when Mia came looking but wasn't allowed into the bedroom. Even when Detective Gaskin lifted the mattress earlier, he couldn't see anything. Reflecting on the disturbing discovery, Detective Royal Graham of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department said, "Even my colleagues were shocked at how well Mary had been concealed. She was hidden deep inside that mattress." Around 10 p.m. on the 4th of April, Mary's grandmother received a phone call saying that authorities were at the Noda apartments, the residence of Levi Pham and Kelly. Over the phone, Mia could even hear ambulances in the background, and she believed Mary had been rescued and taken to a local emergency room. In a rush of hope, she ran out of the house and hurried to the nearest ER, desperately hoping to see Mary alive and safe. But when she couldn't find her there, she ran to another hospital ER to continue searching. As she frantically rushed from hospital to hospital, another call came through. This time, they told Mia she had misunderstood. She needed to come to the front of the Noda apartments and be with her family. They had found Mary, but heartbreakingly, she would never open her eyes again. With tears streaming down her face, Mia wept, saying, "She couldn't call out loudly. She couldn't scream. I thought she was calling for me." According to the authorities' investigation, Levi Pham, 23, Kelly Laverde, 24, and James Salerno, 20, were responsible for Mary's tragic death. Afterwards, they called in a fourth-person America Deal, 18, someone they had just met on the online dating app Tinder, to help them clean up the crime. Early on the 5th of April 2020, following the search, Levi Pham and Kelly Laverde were arrested at their residence, while James Salerno was taken into custody at the university area. All three were charged with murder and failure to report a death. The fourth person, America Deal, fled to Colorado. On the 21st of April 2022, Kelly Laverde was formally charged, later pleaded guilty, and received a sentence of 25 to 32 years in prison. After the sentencing, Mia, Mary's grandmother, said, "She deserves to be in prison for life. Our family was shocked that prosecutors didn't pursue the death penalty." Through tears, Mary's mother cried, "I cannot understand the actions of those who killed my daughter. It breaks my heart to think that someone could be so cruel to a young woman who is disabled yet so sweet and loving." James Salerno was also charged on the 21st of April 2022. However, he refused to plead guilty. Phone records placed him at the scene during and after the time of Mary's death. Prosecutors also revealed that his phone's notes app contained a list of items like bleach and cleaning supplies, which were later confirmed to have been used in cleaning the crime scene. Salerno's defense attorney argued that there was no forensic evidence tying him directly to the murder and claimed he had no motive to kill Mary. After 2 months on the run in Colorado, on the 2nd of June 2022, America Deal was extradited back to Charlotte. At 18 years old, she had only been charged with concealing a death and being an accessory after the fact. She refused to plead guilty. Today, Deal is still living freely with her family, facing minimal restrictions. For Mary's family, every lenient measure given to Deal has been another wound added to their 2 years of painful trials. How could someone be involved in such a prolonged and horrific crime yet still walk free? 2 months later, on the 21st of June 2022, Levi Pham was officially charged. However, he also refused to plead guilty. In the end, both main suspects, Levi Pham and James Salerno, denied all charges, and the one accused of cleaning up the scene, America Deal, also entered a not guilty plea. The lack of clear evidence left the case at a standstill. It was understood that the trial could only move forward if one of two things happened. Either the three suspects agreed to a plea deal, or the prosecutors representing the rights of Mary chose to drop the charges and give up the pursuit of justice. Faced with the difficulties of finding justice for her late daughter, Kashi, Mary's mother, said, "It's so hard to accept that I have no voice in seeking justice for my own child when she was tortured and brutally taken away, even though she was the sweetest soul. This truth is unbearable for me, and I don't even have a voice to demand justice for her anymore. It feels like complete helplessness." Perhaps the most haunting and heartbreaking words from Kashi came after yet another exhausting day in court. "As a mother, I feel like nothing, no sentence, no punishment will ever be enough for me. Every single day, I ask myself how many more days I have to live, because I have to go on existing through them without ever being able to see my daughter again."